Okay, we have a lot to talk about with the first one to touch the ground loses competition. In this video, we will study how I believe Spenny lost the competition, some characteristics of editing trickery, and the juxtaposition of original film with reshot film. First of all, shout out to Ben at Spamerica for previously analyzing many of these scenes. Here's a link to his video where he talks about this competition and every other competition as well. Second, I feel like Ben already made many of the most important points and hammered out the semantics of the rules. The most significant one being, instruments used in this competition needed to be ones that a person could fall off of. Having said that, I want to quickly address the footwear used in the competition by both parties. Strapping moon shoes to Kenny's feet should be a disqualifying offense because once the straps are on, he can't fall out of them. However, I don't feel the same about Spenny's inline skates. Anybody who has walked in untied rollerblades knows how easy it is to wobble, roll an ankle, and fall out of them. Since we could make arguments about moon shoes and inline skates for a long time, let's forego those arguments and just move forward with the scenes where there are questions raised about hand, foot, shoe, and body contact with the ground. So let's break this into two parts and go from there. Spenny touching the ground and Kenny touching the ground. There are 4 questionable Spenny scenes for this part of the video. This, and this. And I'm going to talk about them out of their chronological order so I can clearly establish the characteristics of editing trickery one at a time. In this shot we see what is Spenny about to touch the stairs with his left hand, and then the shot is cut from the scene. Now people have made the argument that the camera cuts to hide him touching the stairs, but I disagree. We can see him lose his balance, drop the string of the pot on his right foot, and steady himself on the railing with his right hand. After regaining his balance with 3 points of contact, he reaches with his left hand to retrieve the dropped string. That's all. Further reinforcing my argument is this shot only a moment later where he does grab the string. Now we're going to jump ahead to here. In this scene we see the use of 2 different tricks. The quick zoom and the cut. As an aside, this is a prop dresser for theater. It only has 2 sides and is only made to look like a dresser with drawers. It does not have drawers. As Spenny climbs over Praxor, the prop dresser tips over. When he hits the ground, we can see his left hand on the chair frame, his right hand on the now collapsed prop dresser, his left leg on one side of the pole dangling over Praxor, and his right leg on the other side of the pole. The pole bangs into the back of his right knee, and there is a quick zoom to hide his right foot, which is possibly touching the ground. A quick zoom is something that comes up at multiple points in the series, and it's not done by the cinematographer, also known as the cameraman. The cameraman is not quickly zooming in to hide Spenny's foot while he's recording. He's busy paying attention to getting the shot. After filming is complete, the editor can transform or crop a shot to hide something that would raise questions to the legitimacy of the competition. Let's continue. We did not see the pole banging into his ankle. It was definitely the back of his knee. As we continue the scene, the camera cuts to show his ankle touching the pole where his knee was a moment ago. In this instance, the cut is the trickery. The cut is trying to hide his foot on the ground. Each episode has hundreds of cuts. Is each cut used to hide something? No. Is this cut hiding something? Yes. Let's look at this for a moment. This piece of the dresser here is this piece of the dresser here. And in this shot, Spenny's leg is on top of it, and then in this shot, his leg is behind it. The cut is to hide him moving his leg back so the competition can continue. Next, we will move back to the pillow scene. Many fans think it is highly likely that he touched the stairs here, or the floor here. I cannot say that there is evidence of him touching the stairs or the floor. So I'm going to appease the narrative and agree that Spenny did not touch the stairs here. That being said, I do see one of the characteristics of editing trickery, the quick zoom. This quick zoom is much harder to see because the cinematographer is moving up the stairs in the scene. See, in the Praxor scene, the camera is static, so the quick zoom is easy to see. I did some editing magic, and the best way to see the zoom is to watch the red furniture in the living room. It's hard for the untrained eye to see the zoom, but it's there. We can see the edge of the step at the beginning of the shot, but the quick zoom is applied to hide any contact between the stair and Spenny's foot. The final Spenny scene I want to look at is this one where he gets into the chair. It starts after he attacks Kenny on the couch. Spenny is seen standing on his pots, then it cuts directly to him sitting in the chair. This cut from the stairs to the chair is hiding Spenny touching the ground. I cut some scenes to break this down. First, we see Spenny use his pots to attack Kenny, but they are undamaged. Look at Spenny standing here. He is at the top of the pots, no problem. Now the next time we see the pots, Spenny is already in the chair. Look at the pots. Look at the giant hole in the top of that one pot. The only way that could have happened is if his foot went all the way through it and touched the ground. If his foot did not go all the way through, it just would have a partial break and a crack in it, but there's clearly an oblong foot-esque hole in the top of that pot. Now, the pot bottoms are not very strong to begin with. That's why he reinforced them with some duct tape. I've worked with these pots before. If you add dirt to them and drop them on the ground, they will break. They're made to have all the normal force of the dirt be transferred straight to the ground they're sitting on. But the way Spenny uses them, if his entire foot is on the pot, his weight is somewhat distributed across the tensile force of the bottom and down the sides of the pot. So how do I think this happened? Look at this scene at the beginning of the competition where Spenny's foot slides forward a little bit while he's trying to walk. Then he stops to adjust his foot into a centered position on the pot bottom. What would happen if he put his weight onto his foot while it was in that forward position? The pressure of his body weight would be concentrated on his heel. That concentrated pressure would be focused at the weakest spot of the base, the center, instead of being spread out across the diameter and down the sides of the pot. There are two possibilities to explain this. While walking to the chair, his foot slid forward and his heel broke through and touched the ground. Or while getting into the chair with one foot in the chair and his other foot on the pot, he broke through. Now look at him sitting down here in the chair. I can tell that he's standing on one pot because of how close his legs are. So the second pot must already be broken. Look at his stance here while he's at the whiteboard talking about the rules. And look at his stance while he's getting in the chair. His legs are much closer together. So let's review. Quick zoom, cut, Spenny.
Let's go, Momo.
Okay, on to Kenny. Since the show ended, Sebi has gone on record and indicated that the scene where Kenny falls is a reshoot. I don't have a reason why they had to do that, but we can use this information to study the characteristics of a known reshoot and apply them to other episodes. So characteristic number 1 is the lighting. One of the only factors that cannot be recreated is the natural lighting from the windows. Leading up to the end, the scene is brightly lit with the doorways being near white, and during the reshoot fall, it's much darker in those doorways. Look at the lighting behind Spenny, and look at it again here. These are different shoots cut together. So why is it like that? Why is the light different? Why didn't they just reshoot it right away if there was a problem? Using my editing program, I cut together the scenes that I believe to be either real or possibly real.
You've won again, Mr. Rice. You've won again. Yes! We did it! We did it! Woo! Yeah! Thank you! Thank you!
And the scenes that I believe to be reshot.
Oh my God! I won! I won! He's an idiot! Oh. I'm out of here!
Oh, that hurt.
Yes! Ow!
Oh, my back.
I'm going to assume that a television production works like a newspaper. During the day, journalists are out gathering stories. During the afternoon and early evening, they're writing their articles. And at the deadline of, say, 5 or 6 p.m., everything gets submitted to the editor. The editor then works during the evening to prepare the articles for printing. So for Kenny vs. Spenny, at the end of the day's shooting, the tapes go directly to the editor for preparation of that material. That's also how Spenny was able to check the tapes during various competitions. After they finish shooting on a Monday, but before they begin shooting on a Tuesday, Spenny goes into the editing booth to figure out what Kenny was doing. So what happened in this competition was they filmed during the day. Kenny appears to leave the house at around 2 p.m. I'm judging that based on the front of the house. I know that the KVS house faces east, so I'm judging it to be 2 p.m. based on the shadows of the trees. The shadows are coming from a sun in the western sky starting its afternoon descent. Shortly after Kenny returns to the house, the competition ends. In this end scene, the sun is still high enough to shine directly into the back windows. The tapes get submitted, and at that time, they discover a problem with the footage. They coordinate everyone meeting at the house again to reshoot. It's maybe about 6 p.m. at this point. Number 2. editing errors. I found two things in this video that I've never seen discussed on any forum or board or chat group or anything. One was the broken pots, and the second is this extremely brief scene of Kenny falling closer to the couch. Is this the real fall? Or did they reshoot the fall in a couple different places and pick the best one? You see, between the rolling away scene and the falling scene, we have this scene. It's on screen for exactly 1.03 seconds. You can see that he's holding Ryan in his right hand and the handlebars with his left hand. He hits the white chair, causing him to lose control of the Segway, and then it cuts to the fall that we see in the episode. And in that fall, he's not holding Ryan at all. What am I trying to say here? If Sebi had not come forward and explained that the scene was reshot, we could safely assume that there was some manipulation to the narrative here. Number 3, cinematographers. The two cinematographers for this episode are Sebi Kluwer and Matt Merrick. Matt is supposed to be recording Spenny and Sebi records Kenny. So in the original scene, I can place Matt beside Spenny and Sebi in the door frame between the back room and the front room. As Kenny rolls away, the Ryan fall appears and Sebi is recording in the living room. Then it cuts to the reshoot fall and Matt is standing in the door frame and Sebi at the edge of the living room in the fall area. None of these movements on their own are out of the ordinary for shooting a television show. It does show that there are gaps in the continuity. It does show that when Kenny rolled away, he did not immediately fall. If this were not a known reshoot, we could say that there is a problem with the continuity. And when studying a scene, this is the type of clue I would look for to determine continuity errors and the necessity for closer examination. Number 4, frame manipulation. In this scene, with Kenny laying on the ground, I notice one big error. Can you see it? His missing finger is on the wrong hand. Similar to the quick zoom, the editor can mirror image a scene during the edit. I have no idea why they would have done this here. Again, this scene does not show any specific characteristic of trickery, but seeing no reason for the image flip would set off a red flag for me, and I would pay close attention to other details. So what conclusions can we draw from this? Why didn't the competition end right there? Or there? And the answer is not black and white. It's layered like an onion. Similar to the stain competition, when Kenny spits coffee onto Spenny, the show can't just haphazardly end. Similar to what Ben said, the individual competitions are largely irrelevant. The series should be called Who Can Make a Better Television Show. Season 1 was the only time in the show's history when it was truly a competition show. But what fans enjoyed the most was watching Spenny's reaction to Kenny's pranks and seeing a cunning strategy play out. Every season thereafter revolved around pranks and devious activity. So this competition needs to go on because they need more footage of pranks and reactions to make a good episode.
Let's go, Homo. I'll get you fucking violent! Go fucking me! Ow! Fuck! No! No! Ow! 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 Fuck! Ow! God damn it! No! No! Ow! Ow! Fuck! Ow! 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 Oh my God.
This point is reinforced by Kenny here.
Say, hey, Kenny, like, what the fuck you doing? You know, you're not going to win a competition doing stupid shit like that, and, you know, you're not going to win a competition by putting shit on the ground under Spenny when you're not supposed to touch the ground. You know what? Let me tell you something. It's fucking boring winning all the time. And what I'm trying to do is make people laugh.
Okay, but why did they call an end to the competition when Kenny fell, but not when Spenny fell? Because Spenny has to win sometimes. We saw in the season 2 episode, Who Has the Biggest Balls, Spenny won due to forfeiture.
The winner of the Braver competition.
By forfeit.
By forfeit, Spenny.
And since then, Spenny has gone on record and indicated that he won that competition because the broadcaster said that Spenny needs to win more competitions. In the case of First One to Touch the Ground Loses, Kenny had won the first 4 competitions of season 5, and this was competition number 5. And of the last 6 episodes of season 4, Kenny won 4 of them, only losing Who Can Commit the Most Crimes due to receiving a parking ticket, and Who Can Handle More Torture due to forfeiting most of the competitions. But really, he was on his way to winning crime, and he did the least amount of humiliations and torture. So arguably, Kenny won the last 10 competitions in a row. Spenny has to win sometimes. Again, this point is reinforced by Kenny himself here.
I'm giving him a handicap, and if I have to, you know, fuck myself so that he can maybe win one, you know, it keeps us doing the show. It keeps him playing. So I'm willing to jeopardize my ability to win so that I can have a good fucking time, make people laugh.
But for the sake of argument, let's take it a step further into the hypothetical dimension. Let's say Kenny didn't fall, and the competition was on its way to being called a draw. Endurance competitions are the worst offenders for being at risk of concluding in a draw. Some outliers in other categories include catch a bigger fish, because Kenny paid the captain to take them to an area without fish, and who is the better boxer, where a match could end in a draw. Objectively, endurance competitions are supposed to be a person versus self type competition. For example, who can wear a gorilla suit the longest could have been them sitting on the couch for 3 days with the air conditioning turned off. But that doesn't make for good television. So Kenny strategically attempts to sabotage Spenny into taking off his suit, thus transforming the competition into a person versus person conflict. When one fails to stop the other from enduring, the competition ends with a draw. So let's think about woods.
So what do we do?
You call a draw?
Van.
We have a draw.
And naked.
He wants a draw?
Yeah, he doesn't know what you're going to do.
He wants a draw.
Since draws or ties are not the desired outcome,
Draws are fucking bullshit.
sometimes one would try to broker an end to the competition. Think about goat.
I would like to broker some kind of either ending to this competition.
But more famously, the Christmas special.
I will lose the competition if you do a humiliation. Deal.
And as a Hail Mary play to prevent a draw, endurance competitions are the only form of competition that goes to sudden death. The standoff.
Okay.
The bone-off.
Hugo, stop.
The high-risk stain situations.
Humiliation time, Spenny? No!
And the butt slam fest.
It's over.
So here's the big answer. After gathering enough prank reactions to form an episode, Kenny genuinely fell off of his Segway, and it was a convenient way to not only declare a winner, but also to give a win to Spenny, who had arguably lost 10 in a row. Is the show fake? No.
Oh, you faked the ending. It's like, fuck you, I faked the ending. I'll never fake a fucking ending in my life. And I fell off that fucking thing. And if any of you guys have been on that, like, those things are fucking hard.
Is it scripted? Not in the sense that every line is written down and recited for the camera, but that's a video for another time. Did Spenny touch the ground? Yes. Did the competition continue anyway? Yes. One final point that I want to address is the argument of how did Kenny get up the stairs in the Segway. People say he must have gotten off and carried it up. I found this clip to show you. I get that Kenny's Segway wasn't this beefed up, but the stairs at the house have a shorter rise than these ones in the video. And as the most learned man once said,
You can make an argument.
I can make an argument. I think it's possible that Kenny rode the Segway up the stairs, similar to this video, so I can't concede that Kenny carried it up. In future videos, these are the tools I'll use to break down questionable scenes from the show. Become familiar with the quick zoom, the cut, lighting, editing errors, cinematographer positions, and frame manipulation. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.